Hi, this is the launch video of the Chaser DLG. Michael has been busy the last couple of months fighting weight to get this DLG as light as possible and very good strength and quality and flying characteristics that will be used as a competitive hand-launched glider built in South Africa for our local pilots at a price that we can afford. Michael has asked me to help him with some of the initial test flights to make sure that the glider performs as expected and that it can be used by any of the pilots that just wants another plane or wants a first plane. As can be seen here, the build quality of this machine is excellent. We had a first day at the field. This is a second flight that we have just done a dart throw with to test, and you can see with almost no change to trimmings, the glider is flying excellent, straight level. We had the CG set. In this glider we had a heavy tail boom and we had to load some weight into the nose, but even with minimum radio settings,
it was very flat because that's the thermal
we started to get a good throw into the glider. Unfortunately, the peg on this glider wing was not very strong and we were careful not to break it. That was immediately one of the things that Michael started to work on and improve on that. He now has a T-peg as well as a through-hole peg that can be used in the glider depending on the pilot's preference.
The Chaser with Aldo. And he trimmed it and it's now flying very well.
During the test flights we found that the tail was maybe a little bit heavy, and Michael made immediate work of that to get the tail a lot lighter, and that helped us to reduce extra weight that had to be added to the nose to get the CG at approximate 65 millimeters, a little bit to the front or to the back based on pilot's preference. Will help to get this glider to an excellent setup very easily, straight out of the molds. Here can be seen with these slow motion launches that at the launch the tail wiggles a bit due to the inertia of the heavier tail, but that has now been sorted out. The peg in the wing is nice now, it's strong, it's stiff. The glider performs well, it's predictable, penetration is very well, the indication of thermals is good, and I've used it at some of the events already exclusively on a day to get us through the whole day, just using the Chaser and flying excellent times on many of the flights. A lot of the pilots in the community gave encouragement to Michael. His quality was always shared with the community. He got tips from everyone, building tips, composite building tips, and all these tips that he got, he immediately started to use and improve on the glider build. So much so that the glider can now be purchased from Michael in South Africa. He's already sold quite a few. There's been improvements made also to the installation of gear. The nose cone is now a slide over nose cone similar to the Snipe, and the servos then mount a lot easier on a boom that extends to the front and that's covered later by the nose cone. The versions of the gliders that have already been sold are mostly with the new nose cone concept. It's also with the pegs as preferenced by the pilot. And the nice thing of having a local manufactured glider in South Africa is if there would be a mishap and any part need to be replaced, it can be ordered from Michael and he will create that part for you on demand. The first version of the Chaser was about 300 grams due to the heavy tail. We had to add nose weight, but the current version is about 270 grams or just under that, and then with a little bit of weight, 2 to 5 grams in the nose, you can set the CG where you want to fly with the characteristics that you want. And at 270 grams the plane thermals very well in normal conditions. Maybe in very light conditions some of the light planes could have an advantage, but in normal to windy conditions the Chaser has got excellent penetration and good thermal characteristics. The build quality of the Chaser is excellent, making that surfaces move through and respond as expected, with push rods basically internal to the fuselage and only extruding where it mounts to the horn of the main wing. There's very little drag, and the tail surfaces are pull string for the rudder and the elevator. This is test flights of the latest version with the nose cone. You'll see the silver nose cone on this plane in very windy conditions. Quickly tuning the plane for these conditions, and then had a couple of launches, and you'll see here a lot harder launches with a peg that has been stiffened a bit. And the first plane was also then test flown on this day for one of the new customers of the Chaser, and in the wind we quickly maidened the new plane, trimmed it and handed it over to a new customer, and Michael could get Jeff here flying his first Chaser bought from Michael.